See how I look. All right. I look pretty good. All right. That's what matters. All right. This is the Bushwhacked podcast. This is a podcast that's highly introspective. I've got guests on. I've gotten them highly introspective in the zone. Today, I've got Mike Hewlett. Mike Hewlett is a Memphis-based musician and educator. He's known for his work with Mike Hewlett and the Racket, along with accompanying other artists like Maxann. The Racket blends elements of country, blues, rock and roll, reflecting the rich musical heritage of the Mississippi, where Mike grew up. Thanks, Google. I know, Mike. We don't have to do all that, but, I just figured we'd get professional. Did you know you could be Googled?
No, I was going to ask, is that stuff out there?
Yeah, all that's out there. That's what Google had to say about you.
Okay.
All right, so welcome, Mike. On a scale of sober to highly, are you ready for some questions?
Yeah.
All right.
I think I'm about an 11 going in. That's how I feel going in. We'll see.
An 11. All right. That's perfect. That's very introspective. What's the worst thing about being a musician to you?
Worst thing about being a musician? I don't know. I would say for me personally, it is kind of the worst and the best thing is having to put myself out there and put myself in front of people. In general, I think that's
like on stage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But also just in a recording. I mean, like having people hear your voice and your words and stuff. It takes confidence, and
for sure,
sometimes it's hard for me to muster up the confidence to do that. But at the same time, it's good for me, and I feel like it helps with my introversion. And once I'm actually up there, I'm fine. It's just...
That is always interesting. Artists who are introverted, everybody kind of is like, kind of seems like you're bullshitting. Like, seems like you want to be in the limelight, but that's not always necessarily true.
Yeah, as evidenced by the fact that I don't really have a lot of banter in between songs.
That is fair. A man of few words. He'll belt the songs, but in between, he's like, and these are the songs.
Yep.
All right.
And I will tune my guitar as long as I need to.
I think we're ready for another question.
All right.
Now, these are going to get progressively more introspective.
Okay.
Have you ever shat yourself on stage? Even just a little?
No.
No?
I have not.
No?
No, I just sweat.
Just sweat?
Just sweat profusely. Just like I've showered in my clothes when I'm done. That's all I do when I'm up there.
No nervous shits, though. Just nervous sweats.
No, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. What's the best thing about being a musician?
The best thing, I guess, is just being a part of the idea of a community of people who create with the basis of trying to make something, and just being a part of that is
as a band, as a scene, both.
Yeah, as a band, and then just more so adding to the conversation, the larger conversation of art, and
okay,
just trying to represent different and more perspectives.
If you weren't playing music, what's the artistic endeavor you would attempt?
Probably writing prose.
Okay.
Of some sort, but...
So music without the music?
Yeah.
All right.
Still writing,
all right.
But I also really love film and movies and anything like that, and so,
Do you think you'd be like an actor or more of a writer?
I would love to do both, but you have to get
writer.
you have to get kind of famous in one, and then people will be like, "Oh, you can, transition mediums." But I don't know if that works if you're not. You know?
That's
I
fair.
don't know how that works.
I don't know. I feel like you just got to kind of take a stab at both at the same time and just be like, I don't know, one of them will work out.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know shit about film. Moving on. What's a belief you held strongly in the past that you since changed your mind about?
Within music or just in general?
In general. Did you used to be homophobic?
No, I don't think I was ever homophobic.
Did you used to be racist?
No.
Did you used to have an NRA sticker on the back of your truck?
I did. Of course.
There we go.
Yeah, you know me
Got
too
it.
well. Yeah, well, that's not recent, though. I mean, that's, 15 years ago. So I changed my mind about that one pretty quickly when I was, an adult. Just because of their political leanings, not because, I don't prefer, any kind of gun policy.
Okay. That's it. No other beliefs that you've changed on.
I don't think so. I mean, not that I can think of.
Fair enough. When you made your own Lord of the Rings book out of laminated printouts,
Allegedly,
to impress other kids at school, did you factor in being homeschooled with no siblings?
I wasn't homeschooled at the time. I think I was going to school,
Okay. So it was for other
11,
kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, it was a social, it was a conversation piece that I just carried around.
Did it work?
Sometimes.
Well, was the conversation
I don't know,
like
to my standards at the time? I guess so. Yeah, I got to talk about nerdy shit more. So
okay? I figured that was the conversation that it spawned, was look at this fucking nerd.
No, I mean, I didn't meet a lot of girls with it or anything. That wasn't my goal.
Ladies like Legolas.
They did.
How do you define success for yourself? And has that definition changed over time?
Yeah, that's definitely changed over time. And I guess that could be, one of the things that I've changed my beliefs on over time. But when I was a kid, I guess it was just whatever was like the most extreme example of success at that time, because it was very binary to me. You made it and that was that. If you played guitar, you could, carry that over and be like any of the people that you saw in magazines or on TV or heard on records or anything like that. But as I've gotten older, really, I mean, if I could, tell my 15-year-old self that I was teaching other kids how to play guitar and still playing guitar and trying to create something, then I think that he'd be pretty, happy with that. So, I mean.
So you consider that successful?
I mean, yeah, that's,
all right.
I'll take it.
You'll take it.
I mean,
But that wasn't the
still
original definition.
No, I mean, I guess originally, it's just, you think that like a kid that grows up, playing baseball wants to, play in the major leagues, I mean, it's just the way it is. You think that you're going to be whatever the most extreme example of that you have attainable at the time as a kid, but.
Okay. So before it was was it ever a all or nothing?
Kind of. Yeah.
And it was for you. And so but over time you've had to kind of shift that and be like, yeah. Has the definition shifted to reality, or has reality kind of formed closer to the definition?
Somewhere in the middle, I guess, because I think that being a person and going through your life and going through whatever the things that you go through, and then using that to inform art is like the main job of creating something and being an artist. And so, you know, the more things that you do in your life, I feel like the more things you have to pull from. And so, you know, I think that whatever experiences I have in my life, or jobs that I have, or relationships that I have, can inform the art as reality rather than the art creating a space that I find to be my new reality, and it has to do with fame, or it has to do with money, or it has to do with, like, you know, something more.
Okay.
You know.
So a little both. Success comes from a little bit of what you thought it was and a little bit of how it is.
Yeah.
All right. As my friend with the longest lasting marriage, what advice would you give for other men who take poops with their laptops in the bathroom?
I haven't done that in years.
Allegedly.
Got a different setup now.
You just have a whole computer in the bathroom?
No, the computer's gotten further away from the bathroom.
That's probably good.
Yeah.
Is that the secret?
Maybe. But, you know, I just have my phone. I mean, you know, I think that does the trick. Sometimes a guitar, you know.
The guitar in the bathroom, too. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Well, you know.
No, I don't know.
Reality informs art, you know, whatever.
The reality is a lot of the Racket songs are written about or around pooping.
It's very possible that that's happened.
Nice.
Cannot confirm nor deny.
What do you think people misunderstand about you the most?
About me?
Yep.
I don't know. I just, for my own anxiety, assume that people don't think about me or perceive me in a lot of most ways. But I guess.
No, Google knows you.
Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable. But I don't know. I guess I'm kind of a reserved guy, and maybe people would think that I don't want to have a conversation or, you know, hang out with people, but I do. I'm just a, you know, shy person. So.
Okay. All right.
But I don't know. You'd have to ask whoever these people that are thinking about me are.
You heard it here, folks. Mike Hewlett wants you to come up and hug him in public. Strangers specifically. Your songs have a lot of messaging, some subtle, some apparent. How do you reconcile embracing and celebrating Southern culture while also recognizing and calling out its past?
Well, you know, I think that that's one of the, like, things that I feel like we can represent in our experience. And I think that that is something that we have to take accountability for, but also we have to understand that in a lot of conversations about working people and people who make the country and the world what it is, that are doing the work on the grounds, are people who have a lot of history and culture steeped in Appalachia and, you know, Ozark culture and so on. And a lot of that is, I think, something that's taken advantage of, you know, politically. And so I think that representing the aspect of the working people of the South and the good things that came out of the civil rights struggles in the South, you know, a ton of, you know, incredibly important political and civil rights leaders that came out of the South. And though we can't represent that, we can be an ally in that, and we can show that people from our culture are not hostile towards that, which seems to be something that is kind of the opposite of that is shown in a lot of mainstream media.
That is a introspective answer. Maybe I didn't get you high enough. I'm in a highly introspective state enough.
Right.
All right, we're going to move on. Was there a specific moment you realized music was more than just a hobby for you?
I think practically, when I started to be able to, I guess, get paid for my time.
Okay, when the money started coming in.
Practically speaking, I think that was when it was like, okay, it's something that there's somewhat of a return on. But also, I don't think I really thought about that until it really started happening. And it's never been like a main motivator. So I always kind of felt like it was legitimate in the way that it was, worth my time and something that was connected to me, like spiritually and intellectually, and kind of a mission to make something, just create some kind of art.
Okay.
Always felt bonded to that. So,
do you feel like with your music education, because you teach music, do you feel like you're impacting them artistically, or does that feel more like a job?
Well, sometimes it feels like a job because it is, when I have to get up in the morning and drive there, it definitely feels like a job, but there are a lot of times where it does inspire me. And so I do feel like my job is to inspire them and help kind of guide those kids on their journey to becoming an artist or musician of whatever they want to do. But also I do get inspiration out of it because it feels like you can kind of you remember more easily how you were when you were discovering those things, when you see other kids discover the guitar for the first time or plug a guitar into an amplifier and
kind of reignites the old memories.
Yeah, and it just kind of represents that very natural inclination towards.
They're like, oh, I want a flying V, and you're like, oh, I remember when I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah,
I actually had a flying V.
Yeah, well, not like a Gibson one, but like a Dean dime bag.
Those aren't great guitars, kids. Don't.
No, but it look cool.
It does kind of look cool. Also, kids, don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, if you are listening with kids, don't. This next question is definitely where you're like, hey, go in the other room, Tommy, or whatever your kid's name is.
Take a drink of water for this one.
Yeah, for sure. How many times, roughly estimated, have you ejaculated to the sound of Bruce Springsteen's voice?
Wow. Now, are you saying it has been playing and I've ejaculated, or I've ejaculated because of the sound of his voice?
Both. I feel like both.
Like a causal thing there.
Yeah.
Okay. I felt like maybe I could get like a good half a boner sometimes when I'm listening to his music. But it's probably been on when I've ejaculated a lot, but I couldn't even say.
But you can't be sure if that's what did it. It may have been the balls.
There were other things that did it, but but he was there.
But he was
in
there.
some way.
All right. If you had to put a number on it.
Let's just go with 7 because I like that number.
7, at least 7 times. Okay. If you had to replace your hands with kitchen utensils, which ones would you choose?
Probably tongs, does that count?
Yeah.
That seems probably the most practical.
Do you think you'd be able to play guitar?
No.
Just all bar chords.
Yeah. At best.
Piano?
Not well.
Not well.
I mean, how do you,
And just okay.
how do you spread out for the intervals with the...
That would be interesting.
You hit one note maybe.
You'd have to change careers.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a cooking class at my school. So maybe I could,
Are you qualified to teach it?
I may be if I...
Or you just take it.
No, I mean, I could probably teach it if I were in that situation and I only had tongs for hands. I think I'd be perfect for it.
Sir, do you know how to cook? I have tongs for hands. Yeah. Do I really need to answer that?
Yeah, I would consider that ableist at that point as well.
Would you rather get to play Madison Square Garden one time and retire, or play dive bars forever, but you can never retire?
Probably the dive bars forever, just because it seems like there's more options there. It's a lot of dive bars. There's only one.
Okay.
Madison Square Garden.
But it's the Madison
Square
Garden.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, but I don't know.
Rather live on forever than go out on top?
Yeah, I don't see me going out on top. So, yeah, give me some time and I'll see what I can make happen. But
would you rather fight a possum on stage mid-set or have your guitar possessed by a honky-tonk ghost?
Oh, well, definitely the second one. I wouldn't want to hurt a possum. And I wouldn't want a possum to hurt me. So
that's the thing.
Or someone in my band.
And if you choose that option, he's gonna hurt somebody.
I would feel responsible. I would feel bad about that. But the other thing sounds like a story or something. That sounds cool.
It would, but also, I mean, it's a haunted guitar. It's probably not gonna like cooperate, and it might also hurt people. It's haunted.
That's true. Still, I think the second one.
Still going with the haunted guitar.
Sounds more exciting, yeah.
That's true. I feel like either one could make good songs, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'd listen to a song about a haunted guitar, but I'd definitely listen to a song about a guy fighting a possum on stage.
That's true.
All right. As a wrestling fan, what would your wrestling character name be? Like, if you were a wrestler?
I'm bad at naming things. That's why the band is called My Name and the Racket. So I don't know. But I would probably want, at this moment, I would want to do like a televangelist character.
Okay.
So I'd like to do like a Uncle Baby Billy, but as a wrestler or something.
Would it be a heel or a face?
I think it would be hard to tell, and it would change every week, just like an actual televangelist.
Okay.
So
okay,
I'd be shifting around and kind of figuring out, the boundaries of the character. But could be good, could be bad. Depends
Preacher
on the week.
Hewlett.
Yeah.
Uncle Baby Mike.
Yeah, whatever. Yep.
Okay. All right. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I hope somebody out there one day hears this and like sketches something, or maybe in the future AI is just like, I'm going to create that.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if I support the AI creating the wrestling version of this character.
He's got 10 fingers, you dumb shit.
Yeah.
You dumb fucking AI. All right, moving on. What do you hope your songs say about you long after you're gone?
Wow. I mean, if anybody's listening to my songs at any point, that I'm pretty happy with that. But, just that I was trying to, again, just be part of that conversation and create something that was, tied into things in our history with music and, our cultures and everything, but also, just that I tried to fairly represent what was really going on around. Just a fair documentation of the times and
Okay.
and
So you feel
an
like
honest try.
you feel like you write a lot of commentary.
I guess, I think that you can, like, I love bands that just come out and say it, and sometimes that's what you have to do. But I also think that when you talk about people's experiences, then you can find ways to kind of bring that realism into an artistic space and have that represented. So, it's just, if it's commentary like that, it's just because it's something that's going on, and it's happening. So again, I just try to be just fairly documenting things through a medium that I can somewhat do. Yeah.
Fairly documenting. That is interesting. I feel like a lot of artists feel like they're leaving a mark, but not necessarily in time. So that is an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, I just kind of want to do like journalism, but
Journalism via song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like this was, what was going on.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Yeah. Where's that? Where's that? Ohio? Or somewhere?
I don't know.
Yeah. Nowhere. Nowhere was it actually happening. But
hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I guess you never know, but.
Oh, we skipped one. That's a great one. Would you rather be able to get an erection on demand but never come, or come on demand but never get an erection?
And I feel like you really can't have one without the other.
Oh, you can.
I guess. Well, I guess the second one, because the first one involves never coming.
Yeah.
No.
But you can still get hard.
Yeah, but what is that? What's the purpose of that?
You can still do something for the other person.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that would be nice. That feels like the nicer answer.
But
then you could be in service of something.
But you'd rather come just tell a floppy.
I mean, I'm not saying that's ideal, but I don't know.
Well,
that's a difficult situation you've put me in.
It is. It's a real thinker. That's what we do here on Bushwhacked. We make you really think.
Yeah. Some real stimulating intellectual discovery. I'm going to think about that.
Yeah. You at home, write in your answers.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part about being an artist in a small scene or a small town? Not that Memphis is a small town, but relative to music towns.
I don't know. I think that there are a lot of good things about communities like that, but such as the like immense talent and the fact that there are so many really, really good artists and active artists in town. But it's also tough because I think the other side of that is that the negative is that it feels like there are...
It's a lot of competition.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't ever feel like art is like a competition, you know what I mean? So, and like, I try not to think about it like that, because it's kind of the industry and everything else that makes it about the numbers, but it's like when you're making the art and you're trying to be true to the art, you don't want to think about any of that stuff, and so I think being a part of your community is part of that. But I think that it's probably just perceived that there's a lot more money and resources, and in actuality, to some degree, there are more money and resources in bigger music cities. And so just generally, probably lack of resources given the immense talent.
So there's the smallness of the scene itself is kind of the hardest part.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just because I think so many people deserve so much exposure.
That's fair.
That, and it's just the way it works. I mean,
I feel you. As a producer of comedy shows now, it's definitely hard to do it DIY and do a lot of like, we hope you come out and we hope everybody gets paid well.
Yeah.
But everyone's also always on the eggshell understanding of like, there's a good chance that just absolutely nobody shows up to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Support local art, music, comedy, painters, film. There's all kinds of fun stuff. There's a whole film festival going on right now in Memphis. So, go out there and check that stuff out. What is more important on tour? A fresh pair of underwear or a guitar tuner? And defend your answer.
For the job, probably the guitar tuner. But because you're there to play music, you're not there to have underwear on. So
that's fair.
You can shower, wash your pants, put them on, sans underwear.
Okay.
Tune your guitar right up, play a good show.
It's fair.
You can't do that, necessarily if you have.
The after show might be a little awkward.
I do sweat a lot. We talked about that.
Yeah. You should not gonna be doing meet and greets with Mike Hewlett if he chooses the guitar tuner route.
So I think for the practicality of the job, that one's more necessary.
All right, I got one question left.
Okay.
This is the first episode, but I think this is going to be my final question for everyone.
Okay.
And it's a short, simple question, but you can answer it however you want, take it wherever you want, as long as you want, or as short as you want. What are you still searching for?
What am I still searching for? That's a good question. I think that ultimately, there's so many things because I guess that's just kind of like getting older and growing and, life, but in art also. But I would say that maybe ultimately a better handle on the process of creating art, because I think the craft is something that you have to do over and over again and often enough to where when the ideas come, which that's kind of something you almost can't control, I feel like, then your craft is the thing you can control. So the quicker and more efficiently that I can tap into that process, I think I can better do the thing that I feel like is ultimately my job, which is to represent things in the form of art. So, I think probably with that is just, growing a growing discipline, which is something that I feel like you get further in your craft and further in art, and you feel like you can do certain things well, but then you have to have the discipline to continue to do those things well, and the, hunger to still search for other things and other inspirations and other ways to do things. So I think as long as you have that hunger and you are searching for something, then you can make art out of that. But the craft and the doing the job every day is kind of the thing that can elude you if you're not really, really diligent about it.
So you would say your search is how to stay on top of it, stay crafting it, but also still stay passionate about it without it turning tedious or cumbersome.
Yeah, which is kind of something I think that most artists probably have to balance. It's like the mechanics and the craft and the ability to do the thing with the inspiration and the joy of like creating something and the, euphoria of like,
getting the
all these
practice
ideas and everything. Yeah.
I feel that.
So I'm always looking for just better ways to be disciplined about the craft.
All right. That is my 21 questions or so. I don't know. I can't count, but this is Bushwhacked. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have people in. I'm going to get them highly introspective. Then I'm going to ask them a bunch of questions. And what'd you think about it?
Yeah, I liked it. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it. It's a great space. Great questions.
All right. Shout out to High Water Comedy for having us.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
Grindstone Studios. All right. Goodbye.